Hello, PopFest. How's everybody doing? Good, good. I'm Natalie Abrams, senior writer at Entertainment Weekly. Now, back in 2012, it all started with one man. He spent 5 years on an island and returned to protect his city. From there, Arrow, the CW's flagship series, has now grown to add a speedster in The Flash, the Maiden of Might in Supergirl, and now a ragtag team of legends. So how did we get here? Well, let's bring them out to find out. She started off as the canary on Arrow and now has become the leader on Legends, Caity Lotz. He is the fastest man alive as the Scarlet Speedster on The Flash, Gustin. He will not fail this city as the Green Arrow, Amell. She's now taking flight on the CW as Supergirl, Benoist. And he's the brains behind it all, executive producer Berlanti. All right, guys, it's so great to see you all here today, but you guys have actually been working together pretty often recently shooting this four-way crossover. Can you talk about what it was like to get to team up and work all together?
A lot of leather.
It was good. I mean, it was really cool. We had like our individual scenes, but then we had scenes where there were like 20 superheroes there in this big airplane hangar. And, it looked like and felt like, and I think that the fans will feel like this is a big 3-4 hour movie that we're putting on. It's really cool.
You and I also just like this week picked up a really intimate scene.
I've been spending more time with you than I'd like.
Sorry. It was a nice scene.
Melissa, this is, Supergirl teamed up with The Flash last season, but this is your first really big crossover with everyone. What was it like getting to work with everyone, and how does Kara get along with all these characters?
Well, I think Kara just wanted to be accepted and be like a part of the cool kids. And I felt the same way. And it was so fun to just be in this big group setting where everyone... It was this like infectious environment where we all, it felt really cool. But she had like good interactions with almost everyone there. These two are funny.
Yeah.
Grant, how about for you? I mean, you've done a couple of crossovers now.
Yeah.
How do you think this one differs from what we've seen the past couple of seasons?
Well, it's just a lot bigger, right? I mean, last year was Flash and Arrow, and now we have like 17 characters in multiple scenes, and almost everyone interacts with like every other character at a certain point. So it's huge. It's huge. Hear myself. This is weird. Sorry.
Greg, we know the Dominators are sort of going to be the villain of the crossover. Is there anything you want to tell us about the crossover?
Well, we're very excited for everybody to see it. They all have their own continuing kind of storylines through it, but it really does very much feel like in the middle of the whole season, like a 3-hour movie. It starts a little bit at the tail end of Supergirl, because she's in for those of you that watch, she's in a whole other universe on a whole other planet. So there's some, having to go get her. And then it really begins the night of the Flash it's 3 parts. It's called Invasion. The complex that they talked about shooting in, this is a fun little thing. We found an exterior shot for us on TV when they always cut out to the exterior of the building that looks a lot like the Hall of Justice. So we like that.
Nice, awesome. Stephen, during the crossover, we're going to get the 100th episode of Arrow. Congratulations, first off. What does it mean to you to hit this milestone?
I mean, I'm incredibly grateful for everything that Greg and Andrew and Mark and Wendy have done and created. And, the 100th episode, I know some fans were like, well, will we get enough Arrow during the 100th episode? To me, the 100th episode basically had to be a crossover because it's sort of emblematic of everything that we've been able to create and foster and help grow. Obviously, all of these shows stand on their own, But the crossover and Aliens and watching Oliver react to Aliens is one of my favorite things that I've ever got to do. But it gives us a chance to do something for the 100th episode for the fans that in the normal course of our season, we would never be able to get to do. And, for that, I was very grateful. And to work with all the people that I got to work with or hadn't worked with for a very long time on the 100th episode, I was very grateful.
So, Greg, looking back to the beginning of Arrow, what do you remember of casting Steven and then eventually casting Caity, casting Grant, and Melissa?
Well, Melissa, Steven, Grant were all the first people that walked in for the part.
Lazy.
We also have an incredible casting director named David Rappaport, who helped us find Caity as well. Anyway, so, they each, I think we were always looking for, having loved the comic books growing up and the characters growing up, you're really looking for, I think, the spirit and the heart and soul of the character more than necessarily someone looks like this or has this kind of affect or whatever. And they each really, I think, embody so much of what we see these characters as, and they're all, knowing each of them and working with each of them, they really are, in a lot of ways, my personal hero. So I think they have that attribute inherently, and I think it shows on the screen.
What do you guys remember of your audition stories? Caity, how about for you?
I didn't know who I was auditioning for at the time. They made fake sides. There was a character named Lisa, and I remember going in there and just sitting down on the ground, and they were like, "Do you want a chair?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." And then I did.
Is that true?
Yeah, I did the first scene on the ground.
Okay.
I'm fine. Leave me. And then I remember
actor.
thinking "Oh, that's nothing else is it's done. I didn't get the part." And I got a call, and they're like, "We need you to come in. Stephen Amell is coming to town to do a chemistry read with you."
Mr. Stephen Amell.
Mr. Amell. And then I was sitting in the parking lot before the chemistry read, and I was really nervous. And I was kind of amping myself up. And then I just see this guy getting out of his car, and he's like, ugh. And I was like, Mr. Amell?
I was a big fan of Caity from Mad Men. It's a true story. So it's I was excited to meet her. And I remember my audition, I was in a room, and again, I was the first guy that was in. So Greg apparently had said, all right, because the audition was at his office, and Greg was like, okay, if you have anyone interesting, come knock on my door. And then I did my audition, and David Nutter was like, can you wait outside for 5 minutes? And I was in the room the first time with 4 people, and then when I came back in, there were 20 people there. Did the exact same scene, and that was it.
What about you for you, Grant?
It was a 6-week process. It was an initial audition with David Rappaport, and then they brought David Nutter in, who directed it, and then I think Greg and Andrew, and then multiple screen tests. I did one screen test with Emily, on the Mentalist set, on a police set at Warner Brothers. I don't know. I just remember I had a stomach ache for 6 weeks because I was so nervous, and it worked out though. So.
And you had a long casting process too, right?
Yeah, mine was very similar to Grant's. I think my initial audition was 2 years ago, Monday, on Halloween. Wow. It was a Saturday morning that I went in, and I thought there was no chance in hell. I was like, I can't play a superhero. And I thought I was too big of a goofball. But I think it was a couple months. It was 2.5 months and multiple screen tests and just kind of hanging on and hoping and still not really feeling like it was real when it actually happened. But yeah.